that's it. We just want to win for our team.
My goodness!
Yeah, we're just as good as the men. We're better.
It's a huge point for the Bay Area.
Good chance that's the #1 highlight of the week.
What up, world? You're watching Major League Table Tennis MLTT, the first ever professional American league, and we're coming to you live from Davie, Florida. It's the final matchup of day number 3, week number 8, and we've got the home team ready for action. First, let's call in our officials, June Amon, and wheelchair world champion, 2-time, 3-time Paralympic medalist, Terez Terranova. And now the first team coming out to battle. They're 4th place, but they will be no breeze to beat. Make some noise for Chicago Wind. And their opponents are no strangers to you at all. They're celebrities on the streets you will protect at all costs. Get ready to get those thunder sticks clapping and those croc jaws chomping for your very own Florida Crocs! And Crocsky is here as well, so now that all the warriors have entered the arena, let's shake some hands, let's slap some skins, and let the games begin.
We are getting close to that time of the season where you start thinking about elimination and must win. And today for the Florida Crocs and the Chicago Wind, the result hanging in the balance will be mighty important into determining which team has a real sense of life heading into the final 2 months of the regular season. From the Broward Table Tennis Club in Hollywood, Florida, this is Major League Table Tennis, the final matchup of the weekend, Florida and Chicago. The Crocs have been a top 2 team all year long, and they are likely to pass by Princeton, but by how much? Chicago currently 20 points out of the 2 spot. How much closer can the Wind get over the course of the next couple of hours? We will find out. He's Matt Hetherington, I'm Evan Lepler. The Crocs really set the tone back in Daytona Beach in September. They've been a top 2 team. They've been a presumed playoff participant, but they better show up or shut up today because they have struggled so far this weekend.
Yeah, and we've seen in a number of different locations the home team have struggled in Major League Table Tennis. And so far, that's been the story of the Crocs here in Florida. This is their chance to try and turn the tables on a potentially ugly stat for their team.
It has been perplexing to see the home team struggle, and we'll ask you more about that as we progress. But let's take a quick look at the lineups. We begin with Daniel Gorak and Alex Kaku in first singles, Daniele Pinto and Ojo Onaapo. That could be a popcorn match in the second singles spot. Litsky and Liu, Duran and Provost, and obviously an exciting mixed doubles showdown coming up with Kaku and Tan going head-to-head with Gorak and Ekholm. First serve, Chicago and Florida coming up here from the Broward County Table Tennis Club. It's the final match of this January East Division weekend. Major League Table Tennis begins right after this.
and the players are gonna love it. Everybody's gonna be jealous if they're not here watching when they hear that loud golden point. So games played to 11. All of the first 15 games played. That's 5 matches, singles, doubles, singles, singles. After those first 15 points are split between 2 teams, we'll play the golden game. Golden game is worth 6 points. Everybody comes back. All 5 players from both sides will be back in action. It's crazy exciting, it's really intense, and it usually determines the winner. Florida Crocs, you're number 2 this season right now in the East Division, but it won't be easy. So we need your support for your team here. Starting it off for Chicago Wind, we have Alexandru Kaku from Romania. And on the other side of the table, he's been recently #1 ranked in the U.S. Hands together, Daniel Gorak! After amazing class, those thunder sticks heard, and you can enjoy the replays right there on that TV. Other than that, 3 timeouts per team throughout this team matchup. If you have any questions, let me know. Give me the look, come over to me. I want you all to be so in love with table tennis that you can teach friends on the rules. Make some noise, this is the first singles match.
We begin with a couple players, both ranked among the top 6 in the league. Alex Kaku for Chicago, hailing from Romania, and Daniel Gorak for Florida, hailing from Poland. See how these 2 Europeans fare against one another. It's their first time going head-to-head in a singles match in MLTT.
He's serving. He's serving.
And apparently, the wrong player served at the start.
It shouldn't matter in terms of the scoreline. I mean, once the point is played, then the point stands.
Yeah, so it's 1-0. But Kazaku's going to only serve one of the first 4 points. That's not happened before, I don't believe.
Certainly not something you would expect on the first point of a match, but there we are. This, I think, is a big opportunity for Daniel Gorak to redeem himself a little bit. I think he has been such an outstanding player in the league, but here on home ground in Florida over the last 2 days, we have seen him struggle to find his mark in these matches.
1-4.
Kaku gets himself on the board. I'm sure the Chicago Wind would love to edge closer up this East Division scoreboard.
I think from what we have seen from the first 4 months, September through December, Gorak would probably be considered a slight favorite in this match. But with what we've seen this weekend, I lean a little bit more toward Kazaku's way. I'm curious if you agree.
Honestly, I would still favor Gorak in this head-to-head, mainly because he has speed on his side, and Kaku does take a little bit of extra time to wind up. Gorak generally plays really well over the table.
3-5.
But if Kaku can get his power game going, I think if he's the first player to initiate the offensive in the point, that would give him an advantage. But Gorak, if he can pin Kaku back from the table like that, Kazaku's going to play these kind of big dynamite counter attacks from the back of the court. Very risky. There's the perfect example. Gorak, he plays early in the bounce. He plays with speed. Kaku has to back off the table to give himself the extra time he needs. Definitely for Kaku, it's all about the quality and strength of the first ball into the rally.
Big winner with the forehand there from Gorak. At the moment, Matt, Florida's the only winless team here this weekend. They lost on Friday to Princeton 14-7, and then were bludgeoned pretty good by Carolina 16-5. That was last night.
4-9.
Chicago beat Carolina on Friday, coming from behind in the Golden game. But then the wind stumbled against Princeton in the first match on Saturday. Kaku catches an edge. See if that gives him a little pizzazz to get back into this first game. So it's either going to be a weekend where every team gets at least one win, or Florida's going to go winless, and you're going to have 3 teams go 2-1.
9-6.
And as I said in the open, the stakes are substantial. Only 2 more regular season weekends after this one. This being the 5th regular season weekend for these East Division teams. 3 just within the division, and then 4 within the division, and then the 1 interdivisional weekend as well. Game points here for Gorak, though, in this opening contest against Kaku. 11-6 for Daniel Gorak. That's more like it for the first round pick of the Crocs.
Starting strong, it's 1-0, Florida Crocs in the house. I'm seeing some people excited to be here. Come on in. Come on in.
11-6, Gorak over Kaku in the opening game of the day.
Filling up for the home crowd. This is good times, good times. Last 2 days have been tough. This is a good way to finish strong, just like in table tennis and in life. It doesn't matter how you start. It's whoever gets to 11 first. It's how you finish the game. This weekend has not been an easy weekend for Florida Crocs, but that's why you're all here. That's why you show that you love your team. Leave when it gets tough. You don't jump off the bandwagon because the team is having a tough time. That's when you double down. That's when you show them that you're the rock, that you're here for them, that you believe in them even when it's a rainy day, even when there's a hurricane or a tornado or whatever they call it here. A typhoon, thank you, Asia in the house. No, but so far so good. Daniel Gorak takes the first. Can he keep it up? Whose swan this is, Crocs? Let's go, Crocs.
Daniel Gorak up 1-0 over Alex Kaku. A little bit of a snafu with the serving order at the start, but don't think that was the difference in the game by any means. What made Gorak the better player?
Speed up at the table. I think being able to hold the table, being able to push Kaku back.
Game 2 begins with a service error, and then a return winner, and Kaku leads 2-0. He only hit the ball once.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say Gorak kind of took the wind out of his sails in the first game. Kaku has to hold his ground, at least at the mid-distance. He doesn't want to back off the table too much, just because Gorak loves to play earlier in the bounce. If Kaku can play with more topspin close to the table and get Gorak to block and play more passively, gives him much better chances of following up. Kaku come back to the table a new man after the first game here in the second. Pushing the offensive.
5-1 for Kaku as they go to the towels here in game 2.
Big start in the second for the Romanian, representing the Chicago Wind. Big responsibility on his shoulders out here to lead the team. I'm not sure if we've seen him in the opening match before.
5-2.
I think usually Damien Provost is the...
Yeah, it's usually been either Damien Provost or Sasha Hanin.
So
Hanin is unavailable this weekend, so Kaku has leveled up. He took 2 out of 3 games against Matthew DeSantillan. Roman Lawrence got the better of him 2 out of 3 back on Friday.
Let.
as I was saying, that heavy topspin rotation on the first opening from Kaku against the backhand block or counter of Gorak has been a significant factor here in the second game.
Let.
What a point!
Unreal. See Gorak clawing his way back into the table. Kaku, rather, coming back in on this shot.
Gorak had the answer. Big forehand response.
Kaku, just so much power in his shots.
Reminder of the competition format. 4 singles matches, all 3 games to 11. It is not win by 2. The 1 doubles match, also 3 games to 11. All leading up to the golden game. Every single game in singles and doubles was worth 1. Golden game is worth 6.
Gorak switches up to the backhand serve. That last point. Looks like he liked it. He's coming back for another one.
Oh, Gorak catching the edge after another thrilling rally.
Starting to see things open up here between these 2 players. Bigger counter rallies, both players taking some space back from the table. Kaku getting ready for the big step around. Gorak sends the serve return long.
Let.
Well placed. Gorak's back within 2. He's got 2 serves coming up.
Good change up there from Gorak. Just steadily redirects the ball down the line.
It's a huge sequence here for Kaku. If he gives up this lead, I find it hard to believe he's going to bounce back and win game 3.
I think he's thinking the same thing. It's Kaku who calls the timeout.
Eric Owens mic'd up for sound.
Now he's starting to play backhand because on the forehand serve, so no, whenever he's going a little bit side, I think the attack is better. When he goes top, you can just drop it. Try it. Do you feel comfortable attacking?
Low.
Yeah.
And then he's fast.
You do long, maybe you can do this a little side that comes like in the middle backhand, and then you get ready. Because
But you've got to be ready for that attack. What he's doing, if he's attacking your backhand, you're immediately backing up. So stay close and give it right back to him. Because he's putting so much spin on it, when you block it, it's giving all the spin back. Yeah.
basically this, every time you can be aggressive the first two, then he has less time and you have the advantage. If he has a little more time, then it's hard and it's more difficult.
I make this.
Yeah, do what you feel, right? But also remember, it's 9-8. He might serve a little bit half long, right? On accident. So be ready to attack it if it comes.
It has really been an eye-opening experience to have the coaches mic'd up and to get that perspective in the middle of the heat of the moment. 9-8, game 2. Season very much relying on Kaku to battle here. Interesting words from both Owens and Provost. Gorak comes out attacking though, and it's 9-all.
Kind of their focus on the bench there, and that timeout was on the serve receive, handling that backhand, softer backhand serve of Gorak. Now the pressure falls back on the serve of Kaku. He takes the first.
Now he wins that point on his serve. Does he go with the same thing, or does he show some variation here in this next one? What would you do?
Hard to predict. I would change something. Maybe the placement of the serve. I think the heavy backspin worked well for him.
He takes game 2. Good composure from Kaku. And we are even, one game apiece. The rubber game between Alex Kaku and Daniel Gorak in this first single showdown. Coming up next.
And the golden game is the most important thing, but the doubles is also quite important. Along the way, 3 points up for grabs in every game. If you're not following Major League Table Tennis on social media, and you have social media, I don't even know where to begin, but I'll try. Let's begin with following MLTT on all your social media. They started from nothing a few months ago, but they're almost at 10,000 on Instagram. And today, with all the footage you guys take, all the pictures, all the hashtags, your pictures with Litsky, your new gear, I have a funny feeling they're quickly going to cross 10,000. Time is called. This is the decider, game number 3. Who's it going to be?
So a major moment for Alex Kaku, holding off Gorak's comeback rally in game 2. And we are even, one game apiece heading into game 3. Kaku appropriately will serve at the outset of this game. And he's got the quick 1-0 lead.
It's going to be interesting to see psychologically how Gorak rebounds. He hasn't necessarily handled the pressure of feeling, I guess, expectation as well this weekend, as I'm sure he would have liked. And that ball really swung into the table, but didn't make contact with the edge. Gorak sticking with the backhand serve here.
1-3.
carrying at least some momentum from the second. He might not have won the game, but sure gave himself some confidence.
He's still got that weapon to pull out from time to time.
Emily Tan loved that one.
Is there a player who brings more smiles and support and positive energy to their bench in the league than Emily Tan?
Nope. And we saw during the timeout in the last game, Coach Eric Owens specifically pointing out with Kaku, not enough pressure on the backhand, giving up the table on the backhand side, and that Kaku had to stay up closer and keep his body weight forward in order to apply pressure. But right now, it's not happening for Kaku, and Gorak, I think he knows it, and he's really going after that backhand side.
They switch sides of the table with Gorak in front 5-2. Really intrigued to see what happens between Daniele Pinto and Ojo Onaapo. Our second singles match, which is coming up.
Good home crowd here on a Sunday at the Broward Table Tennis Club.
And yet, more often than not, home court advantage in MLTT has not necessarily been a blessing so far this season. Curious if you have any theories as to why that might be.
I really don't. It's very bizarre. I mean, Chicago, the Wind lost all 3 of their matches on home ground in Chicago.
So did Texas.
Texas as well.
Bay Area, I think, lost 2 out of 3 back in September.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. It's, you know, obviously in yesterday's stream I asked you how you felt about other sports, obviously that you do a lot of commentary for as well. The home side typically has the advantage. I guess one thing I would say is that aside from the audience, there's probably not that much advantage for them. They're playing in different conditions, different sized halls, different I mean, here in Florida, it's a little bit warmer, a little bit more humid. When you're playing table tennis with a ball that's that light and doesn't have too much friction on the surface, things like that can have a really big effect. So there are a lot of conditions to adjust to, but yeah, it's been pretty puzzling. I think a very weird coincidence.
Five, 9.
Gorak inching closer to seizing game 3.
No? Okay.
So it actually looked like Gorak had hit the ball kind of soft, but he put his finger up there, not to apologize, but to signal that it was a net serve.
Oh.
So the point not given to Gorak there, because
8, 6.
All of a sudden, Kaku back within 2.
Left.
Kaku, inside out backhand flick.
Frank Arias wants a timeout, Matt.
A little walk over to the swamp, little timeout action.
Timeout.
I think the backhand serve has worked a little better for Gorak, but Kaku hasn't necessarily struggled with it.
Found solutions to the serve. He did two things. He did one to the backhand, and now he's coming in. So maybe either changing the position of the serve or changing the serve. Because now he's ready there to do a couple of things. He did the push to the backhand and the other.
Has been beaten twice in 2 encounters this weekend. Some people believe
whatever you feel
not
comfortable.
let that happen once again.
Just normal like you said before.
And I think Daniel Gorak is one of those people. He's going to fight really,
yeah, because he's coming with mostly nothing, and it's going to be too easy for him.
So much. And you've got the same way. There can't be 2 winners here. What's going to happen?
Okay, so
I don't know. This is why we watch live sports. Timeout used.
But also remember, 8-7. A bad serve might be coming. So be ready. If you see it a little bit high, a little bit long, go for it. Yeah.
So the serve, very much the focus of both teams. It's interesting because I agree with Frank Arias that Kaku has generally received the serve quite well, especially in the last couple of points. But at the same time, Gorak seems to have found more comfort using the backhand serve. So,
oh, Daniel Gorak gets into the rally and smashes a winner with conviction.
And we could see that he totally changed the length and the direction of the backhand serve. Went half long. More backspin float variation. So Kaku with the serve, trailing by 2. Kaku with the redrop, clips the net. Slight apology there from the Romanian.
8 serving 9 here in game 3. 1 game apiece. Nine all.
That was all in from Kaku. Gorak had his racket on the ball.
Good way to characterize Kazaku's style. At times, all in.
All in for the win.
9 all.
It's 9-9. Gorak holds the serve. He's changed up 1 backhand serve. He does it again.
For it.
It was interesting to see Mark Duran piping in at the timeout saying, since you switched to adding more side spin to the backhand serve, Kazaku's been more comfortable. Now we see Gorak taking that side spin out and serving more underspin, and it pays dividends. Daniel Gorak, 11-9. A smile from a man who needed some redemption.
It's a good match. Gorak able to finish the job after Kaku came back to tie it. So Florida out to the early 2-1 lead. It'll be Pinto and Onaapo on the table when we come back.
YouTube channel.
Well, Daniele and Ojo, a couple of lethal lefties are warming up. Let's chat with Daniel Gorak, who just took down Alex Kazaku 2 out of 3. Daniel, clearly there have been some signs of frustration for you throughout the weekend. How satisfying did it feel to get that win in Game 3 over Alex?
Yes, I didn't play well this weekend. Finally, I won first my match, which I'm very proud of myself because I try really focus, and I feel also very big support from my fans, and this I think helped me a lot.
And yesterday when you were warming up, I mean, typically you're out there using reverse pendulum serve, and there was a little moment yesterday when you were warming up when you served backhand and you won a point in the warm-up, and you turned around and you said to me, it's the backhand serve. How much did that factor in? I mean, you looked pretty comfortable using the backhand serve out there. You made a couple of good adjustments in the end to take the side spin off it, but it seemed to deliver better for you.
Against Kazaku, I felt like I have to serve very safe and short, which this gives me an opportunity to attack next ball. And after reverse serve and serve heavy downspin and that ball was all the time hard long services, and he could attack me all the time. That's why I changed the simple services and focus about my game.
Daniel, the Crocs had never been 0-2 to start a weekend before. What was Coach Arias' message to you and your team heading into today?
Like I said, we don't have this weekend, we didn't play well, but we fight for each point, and which is very important because the season is very long, and we try our best.
Appreciate the perspective, Daniel. We'll let you go. We will see you in doubles in just a little bit.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. All right. Italy's Daniele Pinto versus Nigeria's Ojo Onaapo. Another top 15 showdown here. Daniele took 2 out of 3 in his first opportunity this weekend against Nishat Labaka. Ojo didn't quite look like himself against Alex Chen. Dropped 2 of the 3 games against Princeton's Chen.
The interesting thing about this matchup for me, I mean, if you go back to week 1 when Florida and Chicago played each other, Ojo and Pinto matched up there. Ojo, first game, dominant. Second game, won. Third game, Pinto clutched at 11-10. I think Daniele's looser serve, he serves a lot of long and half-long serves, is kind of an opportunity for Ojo to hit a ball that he likes, attacking against the half-long.
Just to clarify, when you say a looser serve, do you mean less effective than it should be?
Generally longer. He likes long, fast serves, longer kick serves, half-long serves. Usually plays with a lot of speed in the serve, and Ojo tends to pick those serves up really well, but again, we've seen him struggle a little bit more in not just this weekend, but in the cross as well.
Crowd trying to lift Ojo up here after he fell behind 4-0. Good forehand cross-court winner there to get on the board.
It's also important to note that Daniele Pinto is a player that's gone from strength to strength. We talked about Ojo having won in week 1. The development of Daniele's game from week 1 to now has been pretty significant. I think compared to the rest of the field, he stands out quite a lot.
There's no question about it. He has been right behind Enzo Angles as the most efficient and effective player in the league since the start of October. And not too many expected that from this 3rd round pick. Relatively little known player from Terni, Italy. He won a gold medal in the team event at the European Junior Championships when he was younger. Is it redundant to say he did something when he was younger? Because if I said he did it when he was older, that would be confusing.
Even that question is confusing.
Nice adjustment from Ojo. The edge ball, he stayed with it, but then sends the ensuing shot long. Daniele's got a 7-3 lead.
Let
Yikes.
3-8-3.
This is really bread and butter for Ojo. Opening the half-long opportunities has been, without a doubt, his biggest strength in his game, and he's struggling, really struggling. When you take the best shot that you have out of the game, it really has a big impact on your confidence, and you can feel it.
Four, 9.
The way things have been going for Ojo, I thought that was going to clip the net, go over, and that was going to be net edge floor. It's been that kind of weekend for the Crocs.
10, 4. And 4. Then
Ojo stays alive. But not any longer. 11-5 for Pinto. Chicago has evened up the team tally, 2 points apiece.
There we go. The Italian stallion.
LA Pinto just keeps on churning along. This win makes him 22-9 singles games on the season. We'll see if he can keep it rolling. Game 2 coming up next.
That's a wonderful question. Anyone else see somebody raising a finger or a hand sometimes after winning a point? So what they're doing is they're acknowledging that they had a little bit of luck, a little bit of fortune. If they hit the top of the net, if they hit the edge of the table, or if they even hit the edge of their racket, sometimes you'll hear the ball make a funny sound. They didn't intend to hit it with the edge, and it makes it difficult for the opponent to know. So they consider that luck. It wasn't intended, but it helped them win the point. So that's what it is. Yeah, I like it, I like it. And right now, it is tied up Chicago win at 2-2 with the Florida Crocs. A game of serve and receive. And Pinto has been strong over the table. Onaapo, we are out to the second game. This is game number 2.
Pinto, Chicago wins. Serve.
So more of the same for Daniele Pinto and Ojo Onaapo, quite frankly. Daniele has looked sharp. Ojo has looked a little bit off this weekend. See if he can turn it around here in game 2. That's a good start.
Definitely a good start. Gave himself a bit more space. Litsky on the bench, motioning up. Trying to get his teammate to bring the energy levels up. Pinto basically throws exactly the same combination straight back.
You know, earlier today during the Carolina match, Enzo Angles said that he did not really enjoy facing lefties when he was battling Duran. You are a lefty. Do you have that same feeling? Do you not like going against another lefty?
I actually like playing against lefties. I find the majority of left-handed players don't like playing lefties. I think the serve and receive makes a big difference when you're playing other left-handers. Fortunately, compared to the rest of my game, my service game is better. And I think service-wise, I have decent serves playing other left-handers. So, yeah, but I would still say the majority of lefties, I'm not a fan of playing against other left-handers. It'll be interesting to see how the winner of this match feels about it as well. Yeah, I mean, you tend to, as a left-hander, not like the ball going out to your wide forehand. You see these backhand diagonal exchanges, and when the switch comes, it's usually down the line. So if a player can get the ball wider to your forehand, it's difficult. Ironically enough, Enzo is really good at getting the ball wide to the forehand. So while he may not like playing lefties, he certainly performs well against them. Right now, Ojo has raised the bar.
Ojo has rediscovered his mojo.
It's amazing what a little momentum can do for confidence and what a little confidence can do for your game in table tennis. And Ojo gets back to executing those strong attacks against the half-long serves from Pinto. It is the strongest part of his game, in my opinion.
Daniele off balance that entire point, really this whole game.
Tried to go for the
He hit
hand
that
switch.
one with the right hand.
It's quite funny. He tried that yesterday in an exchange as well and posted it on his Instagram story. He sent him a reply saying the lengths that you go to not to play a backhand in a rally are really impressive.
Did he like your comment?
I think so, yes. Got a little laugh out of him.
Well, down 10-1, Pinto just teeing off and smacks a winner. See if he can do that 9 more times. Service error instead. And we are even a game apiece in the second singles match, just like the first. Two very different stories. Pinto won the opening game 11-5, but Ojo Onaapo coming back to the table with a vengeance. 11-2 for the Crocs. Crowd's back in it here in Broward County.
Third game.
This venue has been a wonderful destination for table tennis this weekend. Some really high-level action. Suspense and drama aplenty. Game 3 begins where Game 2 left off. Ojo Onaapo absolutely unleashing the fury.
The momentum shift that came in the second game is a dangerous signal for Daniele Pinto. An Ojo with confidence and an Ojo that is landing his power shots against the long shots, long balls, is not the Ojo Daniele wants to deal with. He wants to get in first with his forehand. He's got to keep the ball tight, especially on the serve. And absolutely crushes the forehand counter down the line.
I wonder if Ojo can take a page out of the Labaka book and return it down the line when Pinto's not expecting it to that wide forehand. He tried.
I would be trying it. Left-handers that step around and use a lot of forehand, they're always looking for the step around. And if you can fade the ball out to the forehand and catch them off balance, it can work really well. Pinto, great pick up there against the serve.
5 straight points for Daniele.
5-1.
6 in a row.
This has been such a weird game of momentum shifts.
Say that again.
Left.
Another excellent serve. Daniele mixing and matching his spots and spins. 7 in a row for the Italian.
Left.
Who you like in that mixed doubles match, Matt?
I think Gorak and Ekholm, even yesterday they didn't necessarily play that well, but they still got themselves over the line. I think they have a determination that just helps them in the most difficult situations. Pinto again going for the longer serve. Ojo likes it.
Ojo trying to make a late push, see if he's dug himself too big of a hole or if he can indeed battle all the way back. That's the forehand down the line we were talking about.
Crocs fans are loving it. You do not see this kind of engagement between the crowd and a player at any table tennis event in the US. Having that connection between spectators and their team. Getting behind one player is one thing. You know, you get good support, you can have a good crowd, but MLTT home games, they're bringing something different. The Crocs are getting behind their team.
It's okay. Everything that you've been doing this whole game is perfect. Now what you have to do is you have to calm your mind, watch the serve, see what the options are. If he gives you can drop it. What you've been doing great is you're waiting and then you're giving. It's when you're showing him he's dangerous, but wait just a half of a second and then give it whichever direction. It's so much more effective against him.
What you did very well, that your receive were like very neutral until the last moment you touched the ball. Okay, so you were more precise and more unpredictable. So you have, he has way more chance to lower the quality or to miss the ball if you do. So that's very important. When you serve, wait and give long to back. When you serve, I see the bench mainly in the head, then you can push him with the backhand. Always cross. If you flick, you flip. Yes. And find one serve, good cross.
Crocs fans getting rowdy. I liked what I was hearing on the bench from Eric Owens. That little piece of advice could make all the difference. Saying to Pinto, don't show all your cards straight away. Take that little moment. See if Ojo tries to preempt before you decide where to hit. That's where those fade shots like Nishant Labaka's that you mentioned really make the difference. It's that little moment that you wait and the other player thinks, okay, they're going cross court, then you catch them. Perfect example, well executed. Daniele Pinto, 10-5, multiple game points for the Chicago Wind to level things up. Gets it off the serve, Daniele Pinto. 2 games out of 3.
And well played, Daniele.
That was a roller coaster of a match, Matt. I mean, none of the games decided by 5 points or less. It's pretty rare to see that in this league where 75% of all games are decided by 5 or less. But Pinto able to take 2 out of 3 over Ojo. We'll chat with Daniele when we return.
But all in all, there's a lot of love in the room for our favorite sport and the athletes that are thrilled to be here. So, Dave, you asked me an interesting question. Do you remember what it was?
About the hand signals.
Ah, what was your question about the hand signals?
It was about when you give a hand signal during doubles. What's going on with that?
Ah, good question. When you're watching doubles, raise your hand if it's your first time seeing a professional doubles match. Professional doubles? Okay, here we go. That white line in the middle of the table, that white line means nothing in singles. But in doubles, you must serve from the right side on the diagonal. In doubles, you also must alternate shots every single shot. Our umpire for this match, Duran, will be standing just to make sure that the serves bounce in the right places. So he'll have a good view of the table.
Doubles teams are warming up. Meanwhile, Daniele Pinto has slipped the headset on. Daniele, thanks for joining us. Congrats on taking 2 out of 3. There have not been too many matches this year where all 3 games have been lopsided. What do you make of that matchup you just had with Ojo? You had 2 pretty dominant wins, and then the middle game was all him.
Yeah, it was really a typical game because first set I won easy, second set he won easy, so it was really atypical. What I tried to figure it out compared to Daytona was the way how I received. So in Daytona I was playing too much to his backhand and he was ready, stepping around and play bomba everywhere. So I just tried to play more to forehand, sometimes half front to middle, sometimes pushing to backhand, just trying to change a little bit.
And when you think about your serve game, a lot of the time you tend to serve like faster or sometimes longer. Do you change that when you play against him? I mean, he's a player that's pretty comfortable picking up the half-long ball, which he did really well in the second. So how did you change up also your service game in the third?
Yeah, in the third, I just thought to play myself in the corner, really deep in the corner, making stepping around, but really from the corner, because when the serve is half long, but not to the corner, not from the side, from the front, he was playing really well. So I just tried to play it in the side.
Daniele, I appreciate the perspective. We'll let you get back to the bench and support doubles. We'll see you in the Golden.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniele. Matt, you said earlier you like Gorak and Ekholm's chances, but you have also said this weekend that you like this doubles pairing of Kaku and Pan because of the energy that they bring to the table.
Yeah, look at me being indecisive. I do. I mean, I think it's going to be a great match. I think if it comes down to being close, Gorak and Ekholm have that kind of emotional energy to get themselves over the line. And honestly, in those situations, Ekholm's frustrations really lift her up to the next level, I feel.
So it's one of those situations where in Florida, you want the bear to be poked?
Almost, yeah. Yeah, because if you look at Ekholm as a player, I think she is her own biggest critic. When she's missing the ball, she really takes it out on herself. And she said, you know, Gorak's there to calm her down, but also to stop her from being too hard on herself. But I think when it comes down to the crunch, when she puts that pressure on herself, it helps her make sure that she lifts the bar when it needs to be lifted the most.
I appreciate what Daniel Gorak said in the interview. He's not trying to sugarcoat any of the struggles. They could sweep this match and win the Golden game, and I think he still would say it wasn't a good weekend for him and their team. And yet he's level-headed enough to bring the right mentality back to the table. He's not worn down by the frustration of the past couple of days. He's bringing that professional attitude to compete.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's sport. You can't play your best table tennis every time. Sometimes you're going to have performances that are a little bit below what you feel will be your average. And I think him coming out of it and saying, hey, I was happy with how I played today, and I think that's enough for him. It's a good mentality to have. Daniel Gorak picks up the net ball and returns it with a net ball.
Just how he drew it up. Or not.
Like seeing Emily Tan taking the initiative to go on the attack. Matilda Ekholm handling it well.
5, 7.
In between matches, you were not here at the table. Someone asked me for my predictions on this match, and I thought it was going to be 8-7 one way or another after regulation. And we're on pace, 3-3. Back and forth we go, the teams trading games.
7.
That tracks with me, actually. I feel like the Chicago wind might possibly go up 8-7.
For the record, I said 8-7 Chicago and was trying to say, you know, give myself a little cushion. We'll see. I'm excited for Provost Duran in that fourth and final singles spot of the day.
Yeah, definitely, me too.
Duran has been, him and Brossier have kind of been the backbone of this Crocs team this weekend.
Yep, Duran shows a lot of determination.
Oh my! Kaku and Tan can't help but laugh about it. Ekholm apologetic for the edge ball winner.
I've never seen Kaku and Emily Tan really take things too seriously, which I think is good. I think it's good for Emily to have that support where she doesn't feel like every shot or every point is a huge amount of pressure. Just taking things one point at a time and keeping it lighthearted.
Back and forth we go. Been alternating Florida, Chicago, Florida, Chicago. We'll see if the wind can bounce back and keep that streak going. 11-6 to the Crocs. Game one of the doubles in the books.
Working like a charm. This pair right here, Matilda Ekholm has been one of the top in the league, as has Daniel Gorak. Right there, you just saw 11-6. This is strong. At the beginning of this whole spiel, you might remember me saying doubles and the golden game. This is the precursor. This is the doubles. The golden game is worth 6 points, and it's winner takes all. The last game that we played is tag team. Everybody comes back. So they're fighting right now because whoever has a lead coming into the golden game starts with a head start. You excited about that?
Florida has the 4-3 lead on the team tally. The Crocs looking for their first team victory of the weekend after losses to Princeton and Carolina on Friday and Saturday respectively. Chicago 1-1 on the weekend. They upset the Carolina Gold Rush on Friday to really create some big expectations for Saturday, but the wind stumbled against Princeton. They almost came back in the Golden game, Matt. But a 21-19 loss in the Golden. A closer than it might appear 15-6 result, but that's not all that much consolation, especially against a Princeton team that they were really battling with in proximity in the standings. Revolution are going to finish the weekend ahead of Chicago, but behind Florida. The question is, how big will the Crocs lead be for the 2 spot? How close can Chicago get to that mix?
Gorak and Ekholm with a look of confidence, stability.
Carolina with 223 points atop the standings. If you add in Florida's 4 that they've got right now, they've got 171. So that's a 52-point gap.
Yeah, like you said to Rahman, book your tickets for the playoff now. Yeah. Don't think anybody's catching the Carolinas team.
I'm starting to think about how soon they can mathematically clinch. You know, technically there's 63 points available each weekend. So they would, need a 63-point lead over 3rd place going into the final weekend of the season to clinch everything, or clinch a spot before that final weekend. But that's not out of the question with what we've seen from Carolina throughout the year.
Kaku has the shot over the table, misses. This is the first time we've seen him look a little more on the serious side. Can't afford to
Emily
miss a
made him
shot.
laugh pretty quick after he was looking serious and frustrated. Gorak says, "Come after me at your own peril." Emily wound up, hit that forehand with confidence, and Gorak said, "Get out of my way." Another great shot from Gorak. That's doubles right there. Players flying around. Some pretty good shots from deep off the table.
Ekholm looking for the pickup there. Just a little tentative from Ekholm. Lets the ball get behind her body. Very hard to generate acceleration when the ball becomes in line with you or behind your body.
Going back to what you said before about Matilda Ekholm, that you feel like she often plays better when she's frustrated. Are there other players that come to mind that you've watched that you feel like they're just so-so when they're even keeled, but when they get angry, that's when you have to really fear them?
In the league?
In the league, in your table tennis viewing career, does anybody fit that description?
I've seen on a couple of occasions players get like a yellow card from the umpire and just turn it up and get really aggressive and blitz their way through a game.
Sometimes a coach would get a technical foul to try to fire up their team.
Yeah, nobody off the top of my head, but there are definitely players that get frustrated, and I mean that's the best way to deal with it when you're in competition, is to channel that energy into something positive.
10-6.
Tough sequence there for Chicago. And 5 game points here for Florida, the first 2 on Ekholm's serve. And it will only take 1. Back-to-back wins by the same score, and for the first time in this match, the Crocs open up a multi-point lead. We are through 8 of the 15 matches that precede the Golden Game, and Florida's got the 5-3 advantage.
So far, right now, their jaws are wide open to continue chomping. But one thing I want to tell you, if you're curious, what are they doing with their hands under the table? That's interesting, right? You see them? They're signaling to each other. They're communicating what their plan is. They're saying, what should I... How about a short serve? I know it's tough to hear me. I would walk over. Raise your hand if you can hear me. Thank you, woman in red. Red, Christopher, 1987. Anyone else? Crocs Inc. Okay. If you can hear me, please tell this section right here. They communicate with their hands under the table because they're signaling what they want to serve or what their plan is on the receipt. They're discussing using code, cryptic signs. Pretty interesting. Keep your eyes on their hands before every point under the table and see if you can predict what their signs mean, what's going to come. All right, Chicago.
Well, you see Chicago coach Eric Owens and the doubles team of Kaku and Tan still chatting. Meanwhile, Gorak and Ekholm making their dinner plans over at the table.
As time is called, Chicago in comes drifting back into the table.
I think they're eating at the airport. Although no, Daniel lives here.
Doubles match.
Matilda might be on her way back up to the Northeast if she can get there. It's pretty snowy in the northeastern part of the United States right now.
I'll tell you one thing that won't be on the dinner menu after this match, and that's barbecued crocodile, because right now they're up 2-0. Looking pretty ahead of the curve here in this match.
This raises the obvious question. Have you ever had barbecued crocodile?
No.
Carolina has. Ba-dum-tsh. Until we get a real sound effects board, I got to do the rim shot myself. That's coming next year. I'm going to have an iPad of different sound effects that I can hit.
I don't think we need an excuse for you to play into those more. Ekholm looking pretty balanced, pretty consistent on the topspin openings here. You can see she always creates some kind of variation. Whips around the ball more on her forehand to get the ball wide, or plays inside out.
Matt, it is a long season, as you've said, as Gorak said, but I still don't think it's overstating it to say how important these next 6-7 games are for Chicago. They're currently, I mean, the Golden Game's going to be mighty important. They're 6-9 overall. They're 6-9 in Golden Games. Florida is 9-6 in each. Princeton has clearly created some separation. Chicago is either going to be 7-9 and kind of right in the mix. 2 games back of the Crocs, 1 game back of the Revolution, or they're going to drop 4 games out of the 2 spot. And there are only 6 games, 16 matches left in the season. So if you're 2 games out, you feel like you're right there. If you're 4 games out with 6 games left, you're really demanding perfection the rest of the way, which is tough for anybody.
Yeah, I think Princeton's win against both Florida and Chicago couldn't have come at a better time for them. regardless of their result against Carolinas.
Right.
I mean, obviously, the Wind having a win against Carolina definitely created an impact, but if they lose 2 here anyway, they'll stay in a relatively similar position. So this match against the Florida Crocs is very important for them. Ekholm, a little vocal reinforcement there. Knows she hit that ball well.
Frustration building for Tan. You got to appreciate her aggressiveness. She goes for her shots, but right now they're just not falling.
I think the younger players generally, because they spend a lot of time with coaches who have really kind of linear, especially the Chinese coaches, have linear techniques. They don't necessarily deal with these higher level unorthodox shots as much. Ekholm is a player who throws a lot of different shot variations, and even like if Kazaku's playing a strange shot, Ekholm returns it in an interesting way as well. So
I think I understand, but can you elaborate on what you mean by the coaches having linear techniques?
yeah, I think a lot of them, they're very well technically trained, so more textbook, I would say. The Europeans tend to play with more feeling and a lot of stranger variations.
Like a Mark Duran two-handed back.
Yeah, more side spin, more slow shots as well. I mean, Emily will play great. If there's speed involved in a point, she'll play great. If a ball pops up a little bit higher and it's empty, it doesn't have too much spin, great. But these kind of weird shots, you can see she's out of position. She doesn't necessarily judge the bounce as well. But that's natural, that's normal for a junior and for a younger player.
Well, that catches the edge.
9-7.
I like you said, I like the fact that she is continuously committed to finding opportunities to attack.
Tan's got 2 serve. See if the edge ball can give them a little momentum. They try to salvage a point here. Gorak has leveled up. He certainly looks a little bit more comfortable, confident on the table today. I think in some ways the success he had in singles probably increases that confidence a little bit heading into the doubles.
Yeah, and I think also having played against Kazaku, I mean, he backed him off the table on the back end in the doubles just as he did in the singles.
So Gorak and Ekholm able to finish off the weekend with a 3-0 sweep in doubles. And it's a 6-3 lead for the Florida Crocs. 2 more singles matches still ahead. We'll chat with Matilda Ekholm after the break.
Which player switches between shake hands?
Chicago's Dan Liu versus Florida's Michelle Litsky up next. But first, let's chat with Matilda Ekholm, who, alongside Daniel Gorak, just completed a 3-0 sweep over Alex Kaku and Emily Tan. Matilda, how gratifying is it to finish off the weekend in doubles with a 3-0 sweep?
Yeah, very, very good. Especially after yesterday. It was a tough loss for us yesterday, both in the doubles and the whole team match. So, yeah, we were very solid today.
One of the things that stands out for me when you're playing out there is you kind of have an ability to turn your frustration into motivation. How do you work that mentality? Because you always seem to be able to bounce back. There's a very extreme range of emotions from you.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's totally like that. I've tried being more calm in general, but then I just can't concentrate the same way. So I need to pump myself up. And sometimes it goes too far in one direction, but today definitely managed to like get angry and then just collect that energy and forward. So yeah, I need that.
Well done. Look forward to seeing what you all can do in the Golden Game coming up.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matilda. All right, Dan Liu versus Michelle Levinsky.
She's not done yet. She'll be back because we've got the Golden Game to finish things off.
Liu back on the table for Chicago for the first time since Friday night when he took 2 out of 3 games against Bastion DuPont in Chicago's win over Carolina.
First game,
Michelle Levinsky had a fascinating battle with Kai Jong yesterday, in which both of the first 2 games went to 10-all. Kai won each of the first 2 games on Golden Point, and then Michelle unraveled a bit, to put it mildly, in game 3. 11-4 was the final result in that one. So he's looking for his first win of the weekend, and that won't make him feel better. A net ball that bounces on the table and then bounces back over for a 2-0 Liu lead.
Love.
Can confirm that on Friday night when Chicago and Carolina played, and we saw Dan Liu match up against Hong Lin. It was the first time in MLTT history that 2 pen holders played head-to-head, one-on-one, mano y womano, on the table.
Love 5.
Dan Liu had the last laugh on Friday. Hong Lin feeling pretty good after Carolina's results the rest of the weekend.
They're certainly both good representatives for the pen-hold grip.
Nothing for Liu.
7 love.
Was out there looking pretty unrelenting with the forehand.
Liu knew it as soon as he popped up that return that there was going to be some fire coming back his way. When you're retreating from the table, unless you're Mathieu de Saint-Delan or Marc Duran, it's usually not good news. And even if you are them, it may not be good news.
Yep, the further you back away from the table, the further the angles, the more effective the angles are. More difficult to cover the left and right movements from corner to corner. Another chance to get into the Fantasy League at Fantasizer.com ahead of the next matchup for the West Division in Portland.
And even if you haven't done it all season, there's separate races each weekend. And really that's where the skill comes in. It's piling up good weekends.
So before I was interjected there, I was about to say Evan will be the first person to tell you that it's not about the season standings, it's all about the week to week. I'm sure you'll be moving up in the season standings after this, though.
I rose up to 8th place after the match this morning, but that was in part because 5 of my 8 players were in action this morning, and most of them did well. So I don't know if I'll continue to move up. Only 3 of my 8 players are active this afternoon, but man, Dan Liu putting on a clinic right there against Michel Levinsky.
Levinsky went for a cheeky no-look forehand there. Dan Liu, not interested. Down the line.
Gets to a lot of balls, he'll rally forever, he never gives up. Michel Levinsky fights hard. He's got a lot of swag, a lot of creativity, a lot of feeling. He's wonderful to watch. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an open, honest guy. He says it like it is. Love it or hate it, you're going to get his honest feeling every time. And that's why I love watching him. This match is far from over. It's only just begun. Game number 2. Let me hear you, Crocs. I said, let me hear you, Crocs.
Oh, hold. Let.
So Dan Liu with a comfortable victory over Michel Levinsky in this opening game in 3rd singles.
Serve.
There's a roadmap here for Chicago. If Liu can keep it rolling, could be 6-6 heading into the Provost Duran battle, which feels, to me at least, like a toss-up. Maybe Damien with a slight edge. He goes 2-1 and that one, then all of a sudden Chicago's up 8-7 heading into the Golden game. And we talked about it earlier today. Teams with a 1-0 lead in the Golden game have been more successful than you might think.
Love.
Through the entire season so far, teams that start with a 1-0 lead are 16-6. It's a nearly 73% success rate. Meanwhile, this one-way road continues here. Dan Liu just steamrolling Michel Levinsky. That's what Michel needed, to just put up some sort of resistance.
Dan Liu mixing up the hook serve variations.
Arguably the best point of the match, and Liu wins it.
After the towel break, Levinsky trailing 1-5. Dan Liu's service variations have played a big factor here. The hook serve, heavy backspin, topspin kick.
1-5.
Pinhole grip gives you also a reliable short game and powerful forehand attacks against backspin. Dan Liu is bringing it all in this match.
Levinsky needs to be careful right now. I mean, he just rushed to the table to serve. The let almost fortuitous in that it helps to slow him down a little bit.
And that ball hit the shirt of Dan Liu, and he acknowledges that.
Oh, yeah.
Levinsky was quick to call it.
Fair play, Dan Liu admitting that the ball hit his shirt. That is beautiful sportsmanship right there. Fair play.
visible frustration from Michel Litsky.
If you were his coach, what would you say to him?
I think moving the ball around, certainly. He's getting a better idea of switching from the wide forehand back across to the backhand, which he did well in the last point, but wasn't able to close out. But you can't give Dan a chance to play with so much power.
So those are the strategic tactics, but what about from a mentality standpoint? Because Michel looks just all frazzled and discombobulated right now.
I mean, I think it's always going to be like that. If he's not winning points out there, then it's certainly frustrating for him, especially when the person you're playing against is just hitting screaming winners.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some limitations of the pinhole grip that he could exploit more. But right now, he's just not receiving serve well.
Maybe a good sign that he can laugh about it a little bit.
Well, I think we're having a similar situation today as yesterday, where it seems like he has maybe an issue with the serve and whether the ball's being covered or not. But again, if you don't raise it with the umpires, then nothing's gonna change. And again, like I said, left-handers, the angle's tougher.
11-5 in game one, 11-4 in game two. We'll see if Michel can put up a better fight in game three.
Yeah, Chicago wins, fighting like they were in fourth place. Remember, the number 2 spot in each division is the juicy spot right now. Can somebody like the Florida Crocs come out number 1 this season? Yes, it is mathematically possible. Is it likely? I don't know. I haven't done the math yet. But I will say that the top 2 advance no matter what. And in the crossover, if you win, you might end up facing number 1 in your division. So, Florida Crocs have beaten their opponents before. Nobody's safe here, not even the Florida Crocs. But the good news is Florida Crocs still have a 6-5 lead. And when times get tough, you need to show your Florida Crocs that they've got home court advantage. Let me hear you, Florida Crocs!
Litsky serves to start game three. 22-9
The third game.
in Dan Liu's favor
Serve.
through the first 31 points of this match.
Litsky just shrugging there, not finding his mark on the first openings. He's got to focus on spin rotation to get that first attack locked in. He's got a strong service game, but serve can only get you so far. If you set the ball up, you've got to be able to close out the points as well.
1, 2.
Right when Michel gets a lead, turns it into the net, doesn't give himself a chance. That's more like it.
3, 2.
There we go.
Taking a little bit more time to set the ball up and get the quality that he needs. It's like you said, when he was really under pressure, he just seemed to rush a lot. It's important for him to slow down and build the points.
To say this is a huge point is not overstating it at all. Whether it's 7-5 or 6-6 going into the final singles match here, gonna change the way both Provost and Duran are gonna feel about their opportunity. Michel can win this, puts a whole lot more pressure on Provost, that's for sure. Isn't to say he can't handle it, but it's a different mindset. I know players just try to win every point they play and try to win every game they play and block out the noise, and some of them can do that better than others, but you don't have noise cancellation headphones on when you're playing or when you're watching. You're thinking about everything else that's going on. You're a human. Except you, Matt. Not sure about you.
Putting in for some noise cancelling headphones right now. Michel Levinsky 7-2 in the lead. He's found some confidence, looking more composed out there. Shot quality looking much better.
There you go.
It's a totally different player than we saw in the first two games.
I've seen it a bunch this weekend. A player that goes up 2-0 struggle to complete the sweep.
Totally swung things around here in the third game.
Nothing's personal, Ojo.
So over the course of the season, Matt, there have been about 33% of matches have been sweeps overall. But so far this weekend, only 6 out of 28. It's less than a quarter. Liu has an opportunity to do it, but still.
I think the battle for points, like you said, has become very significant this weekend in particular.
That was the goal of the format. MLTT introduced, make every game really matter.
Litsky trying to pop a back shot there.
Would have made Instagram if he had made it, but I don't think that's going to be on the IG.
6-9.
From 9-4 to 9-6, and back to Liu's serve one more time.
And Liu going on the attack, but Michel Levinsky holds the table. It's enough pressure.
Signaling with his hand which direction he wanted him to serve.
10-7.
Big opportunity there for Levinsky to redirect the ball down the line, sends it long. Dan Liu very much in with a chance here with 2 serves.
He scored 4 of the last 5 points to get back within 2.
You see in the background behind Dan there, James Ignatovich. He's a Major League Pickleball player.
Is he really?
Dan Liu just 1 point behind now.
Timeout, Crocs.
Timeout, Florida.
It's
a 6, or it's a 5-1 run for
The
Liu.
most important thing is that you can see the serve. So move as you were doing, okay? And what's been working?
10-5 Emil
Low to his
Santos.
backhand.
10-5?
Low to his backhand.
I
It's
see
been
Emil
working.
Santos just saying hi.
He'll step around.
Raise your hand if your name is Emil
But
Santos.
he has two options. Either go with the backhand, he has no possibility. He's gonna step around. He's gonna come to your wide open to the front.
Amazing.
Because he won't have the angle to go to your backhand.
Amazing.
So be ready.
I love it. The enthusiasm. A little fun fact, not only is Emil Santos collegiate national champion and from DR, Dominican Republic.
Come on.
But that's the same place.
Litsky comes back to the table. Plenty of advice there from Coach Frank Arias and team, emphasizing play to the backhand, get the ball long to the backhand. It's worked for you so far.
9-10.
See what happens here.
Go for it again. Also told him if he make sure he moves to be able to see the serve contact, so you might see him drift across here. And he pops the ball long. It's going to go to a golden point. Litsky clearly frustrated. He's going to have the serve in hand for the golden point, but pressure's on.
The team tally hangs in the balance. Huge point here, obviously. Litsky went for it and takes it. And despite the tribulations of the weekend, that one swing will leave a positive taste in Michelle Litsky's mouth. Serve, return, third ball attack for the winner. We got one more singles match before the Golden Game, and moments ago, Dan Liu took 2 out of 3 from Michelle Litsky. Dan, a convincing couple of wins, and then Michelle battled back and won a Golden Point in Game 3. How would you assess what just transpired in that last match?
Yeah, so I just starting, with my serve. Look like to keep working for 2 games, and after 2 games, he figured out how to return the serve, and I got a little bit of trouble. But last game, I tried to come back, the very close game. Yeah, I lost in the
And how do you feel about your confidence levels throughout this weekend? You've been out there, and your serve and attack in particular has been pretty devastating. You've got to feel pretty positive about how your game has ended up this weekend.
Yeah, it's getting better and better, because you keep winning, of course, you get more confidence. And then, and also I figure out my pinball style, how to play the game to doing better.
The other night, it was the first time in LTT history when we had 2 pen holders going head-to-head. What was that like when you battled Hong in the Golden Game?
Oh yeah, because Hong is a very good player. Before in China, I know her, and then her forehand pips is very good. But I just focus on the short game and first ball attack, and then look this works. Yeah.
We'll let you get ready for the Golden Game. Well done. We'll see you in just a few.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So Liu takes 2 out of 3 for Chicago, but it is up to Damien to try to give his team a lead heading into the Golden Game, and for that to happen, he needs to beat Mark Duran 3 in a row.
Provost, Chicago wins to serve.
Not out of the realms of possibility. Even for a player like Damien Provost, he has a very high level of experience. Mark Duran's probably one of the few players in the league that can match that experience.
This is their first meeting in MLTT in a singles match.
Provost is calm, collected, and very precise when it comes to playing angles.
How do you think Damien's experience prepares him for all of Mark's quirks and tricks and unique styles?
I think he's likely to be less phased by them because he's so steady. So he's really hard to shake, Provost. I mean, he has really good control with his hands, good at blocking, has good touch. So I think he'll handle them well. And he's very tactical, so you can see him changing the ball placement a lot. But his primary goal really is to probably drive Duran back off the table, take the speed factor away.
Incredible. What a point. Provost perseveres to take it, and he's got a 5-1 lead.
That's a prime example. I mean, Duran plays the most unorthodox shots when he gets backed off the table, but Provost just not phased.
This was oh so close to hitting the net cam and bouncing on the table, which would have been legit.
Yep. There's Duran playing the speed up at the table. This is what Provost needs to stop from happening.
Duran's been involved in 2 riveting battles so far this weekend. His competition against Romain Lawrence yesterday, all 3 games decided by 2 or 3 points. Duran emerged victorious 2-1. Played against Jishan in the first singles spot on Friday night. Lost 2-1, but it was another exciting battle. Duran's just one of those players. He has a tendency to play exciting points because of his style, but sometimes it does get him into trouble as well.
Yeah, being backed off the table in this situation, it's quite funny because you've actually mentioned it before. There are a couple of players who wouldn't mind being backed off the table, but maybe it's not necessarily the best place for them to be. And in this matchup, definitely not the best place for Mark Duran to be. Damien Provost 10-3 in the first game.
Four, 10. Five, 10.
This has been a strange match between Chicago and Florida. that we've had one game after the next may not necessarily resemble the one before it. The Pinto Onaapo match, we saw Florida win 11-2 one game, and then Chicago won 11-5 the next game. The Litsky match, it was 11-4 and then 11-10 the other way, so we'll see if Duran can turn it around. Provost takes game one convincingly.
Respecting the coaches. It's so interesting. Just stare at the faces of the players. I love it. There's so much wisdom in each dugout right now. Each one of these professional players could be a future coach in MLTT or even of a national team. In the future, who knows? It might be a bigger honor. Most of these coaches have coached national teams before, so maybe most national team coaches will be applying to be coaches in MLTT. The United States knows how to do professional sports. Table tennis has a rich history in the United States, and we all played it growing up. Not at this level, but that's why we love it. Game number 2 of the fourth singles match. I don't really use my microphone that way, but I thought it'd be helpful. We're on commercial break right now.
Davie and Provost off to the hot start in this fourth singles match, the final singles showcase of the weekend. The Golden Game is still to come. Currently Florida 7, Chicago 6. 2 more points, and the lead going into the Golden Game up for grabs.
1-0.
We talked a little bit in the beginning of this entire team match about Chicago changing up the order and moving. Damian Provost has been in a lot of times positioned as the one player to start things off. Now we see him at the end of the match. That could be potentially a big factor here for the Chicago Wind.
Whether a guy gets 3 points in the 1 spot or 3 points in the 4 spot, they still count the same. Theoretically, that's true. But I ask you, do you think there's more value about someone setting the tone in the 1 spot?
Duran with a backhand punch. I think it really depends on the team and where the team get their confidence from. I think seems to have had a pretty important effect with the Carolinas in particular, because I think they need Enzo to, in order to take the pressure off him, they need Enzo to really push out and make a good start. I think with the Chicago Wind, they've been in a lot of positions where every player's had to fight and every player's had to try and prove themselves, especially in the last couple or few weekends of matches. So maybe for them less important.
Big roar from Duran as he extends his lead here in game 2. Coach Frank Arias looking on.
Duran mixing things up. You know the expression, throwing everything but the kitchen sink?
Yep.
I think if Mark Duran had a kitchen sink, he'd be throwing it. brings every shot variation and skill that he can muster into some of these rallies.
I was just thinking about the fact that we have not seen Duran play Descent Milan in a singles match yet this season. What do you think would happen there?
Genuinely don't know how that would play out. I think usually players that have like quickness and speed and less power maybe struggle with defense a little bit more, because against choppers you have more time.
Oh, Provost hits the winner to Duran's dismay.
7, 6.
Duran turning up the heat here in the second game. And Provost keeps the ball directed down the line into the backhand side of Mark Duran. You can see the speed variations from Damian Provost on the backhand. Sometimes soft, sometimes quick, sometimes late, sometimes early. Lots of changes. Usually in a backhand-to-backhand topspin exchange between two players, there's a lot more going on than what the spectators usually see.
8-all. Big point for Mark Duran. And Provost made him earn it.
I think Mark Duran is the player in the league that really digs the deepest when he plays his matches, and he certainly has this weekend.
Tough break there for Duran off the side edge on the return. 9-all, the serve going back to Provost. Hit from Provost. Maybe the deep return caught him off guard a little bit, not sure. Duran 1 point away from tying up this match. 1 game apiece, and more importantly, clinching a lead heading into the golden game for the Crocs. And Provost missed it long. Duran takes game 2. Digging deep when his team needs it. Here in the finale of this January MLTT East Division weekend. Game 3 between Duran and Provost on the other side of the break.
Love ball.
So Provost and Duran going the distance. 11-5 for Damien, 11-9 for Mark. Crocs have a lead going into the Golden Game. The question is, how big will that lead be? And was Chicago paying attention when I gave the stats earlier today about team success rates when down by 1 versus down by 3? I don't think they were. I don't think that's a factor. But just to remind you, teams that have a 1-0 lead going into the Golden Game have won considerably more often than teams ahead by 3. Maybe that's chance, maybe that's meaningful. It's hard to say. Provost again able to outlast Duran on one of those marathon points.
I genuinely think in that position from Duran is, I mean, look, throwing in a 360 lob is great, but there was really no comeback from him there. I mean, Provost had him just pinned wide on the backhand. There was no counterattack. He's backed off the table again. Oh my. The swing on the backhand of Mark Duran was outrageous in that point.
Reminder about the Golden Game, it's the grand finale to every single MLTT match. And like most matches, it will decide who wins with 6 points on the line. Now, the standings are not all about who wins the match, it's about the number of points each team earned throughout the season. So win or lose, those 6 points matter. But in the case of today, it will come down to whoever wins the Golden Game will leave here feeling good. Whoever doesn't, tough luck, see you in February.
Right now, Damien Provost has really upped his game. A lucky break. Duran's not going to be happy with that. Seen certainly a shift in energy. Mark Duran as he trails here 7 points to 0. And he looks certainly flustered.
And the question is, even if he can't come back to win this game, can he win a couple points here to change his mindset heading into the Golden, especially if he matches up with Provost?
Getting back there is not going to help. He goes for a two-handed backhand. This is a shutout from Damien Provost.
Hey, real quick while we have time, if you're Eric Owens, you want to tweak anything with the order for the Golden Game?
No.
Really?
No, I would leave it.
Not all up to him, obviously. We'll see what Frank Arias decides to do. Duran's on the board here in game 3. There have been 870 games played all time in Major League Table Tennis. Only once has a player shut out the other 11-0. Provost still with a convincing performance in game 3 to take 2 out of 3. And Damien brings Chicago back within 1. It's 8-7 Crocs. The Golden Game is coming up to determine the winner. Final Golden Game of the weekend on the other side.
All right. So anyway, enough Spanish for now, but only because I ran out. My vocabulary is solamente así. Now we're getting into the Golden Game. El Partido de Oro. Yeah. And this Partido de Oro, the Golden Game, is worth 6 puntos. 6. Not 5-1, no 5-1, no 4-2, los 3-3. Solamente un partido por un equipo. 6 puntos. That's right, winner takes all. So, the commissioner, Flynn Lane, is going to call over the coaches. Eric Owens of Chicago wins, and Greg Arias from the Dominican Republic for your very Florida Crocs. They're discussing right now what their strategy should be. And all 5 players who you've seen play today will be back in action. Since it's 1-0 from the start, the first pick will go to Chicago wins, but I'll let the commissioner explain to you everything.
Just seeing some of the highlight moments from the match and the singles matches and doubles between these two teams. It is going to be very interesting to see how the Golden Game order plays out. We've seen some big ups and downs in some of these matches. First games, second games, third games, just going yo-yoing all different directions. That makes things interesting going into the Golden Game when there are 4 points on the line.
The Florida Crocs are ahead 8-7 over Chicago Wind. Chicago, you will pick first and serve first. The first player will play 3 points. Who is your first selection? Damian Provost is your number 1. Coach?
Daniel Gorak.
Daniel Gorak is your number 1. And your number 2?
Mark Duran.
Mark Duran is your 2. Coach, your number 2.
Alex Kazaku.
Alex Kazaku is your 2, and your number 3?
Dan Liu.
Dan Liu is your 3. Coach, 3?
Ojo Onaapo.
Ojo Onaapo is your 3. And who is your 4? You've got Matilda Ekholm and Michelle Litsky.
Michelle Litsky.
Michelle Litsky is your 4, making Matilda Ekholm your 5. Who is your 4? You've got Danielle Pinto or Emily Tam. And his 4 is Michelle.
I'll do Emily against Michelle.
Emily Tan will be against Michelle, and Danielle Pinto is your 5 against Matilda. Good luck, coaches.
Oh, this is a spicy lineup here, Matt Hetherington. We've seen both coaches change things up. There's not a single matchup here that we saw in regulation. That doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because the Chicago Wind earlier in the season had nightmares with the Golden Game. And it's been really interesting to see how Coach Eric Owens has changed things to try and give his team a better chance in the Golden Game. And I think he kind of led the charge this weekend with switching the gender matches around. And it's something that he's continued to try out. So very interested to see how this plays out.
Gorak takes the opening point from Provost. Another convincing backhand punch. 3-0.
3-0, Daniel Gorak serve.
Provost gets Chicago on the board. And that'll bring up Kaku and Duran.
This matchup, style matchup's interesting. I mean, Kaku has so much power. Here's a good chance to back Duran off the table. Or it could go completely the other way.
You mentioned the disparity in terms of Golden Game success between these two teams. Florida's 9-6 in the season, Chicago's 6-9. And Florida's 9-6 in the season, but 0-2 this weekend.
Kazuku's out there going for broke. Once you back Duran off the table, do you need to take that much risk? That's the question Kazuku needs to ask himself. Lands the last shot. Danliu and Ojo get to the table. Ojo had a pretty slow start in his singles match. Can't afford to have that here. Shot to the forehand. Good serve received from Ojo. Onaapo.
In November, Ojo won a singles match against Danliu 3-0. They split the first 2 points on Liu's serve.
Danliu to take the point. 6-4.
Ojo's turn. And through the first half of the season, there wasn't really anybody better in the league in Golden Games than Ojo Onaapo, but his performance has fizzled a little bit. December and January, he really struggled in Rock Hill for whatever reason. Some of those issues have persisted here in Hollywood, Florida. They split their 4-point sequence as well. And now we've got Emily Tan against Michelle Levinsky. This is a really fascinating matchup here. Levinsky's short return kind of forced Emily to lunge onto the table, slightly off balance and into the net.
Emily Tan goes on the offense. She is not intimidated by having to play a male opponent. Did really well against Princeton when she came up against Nishant Labaka. Take a handful of points. But ultimately, it's Michelle Levinsky that comes out on top.
And he takes 3 of the 4. So Matilda Ekholm heads to the table with a 4-point lead. It's a big spot for Daniele Pinto.
6-10.
Pinto's had his ups and downs in the Golden Game this year. Went with a deep serve. Ekholm was up to the task.
That ball comes right into the body of Ekholm. Ran out of space, but she's handling the serve return really well. Topspin kick serves from Pinto. Neutralized by the backhand of Matilda Ekholm. Just making sure there are no sweat spots on the table, Ekholm. Big trouble if the ball hits that and gets a little damp.
Yikes. Service error gives a free point to Pinto and Chicago. Ekholm needs this for the split and gets it.
Big effort from Matilda Ekholm. That could make all the difference for the Florida Crocs.
12-8 as Gorak and Provost, the 2 first-round draft picks, return to the table in a big spot.
Pressure's on for Provost. Daniel Gorak is riding a bit of a wave today.
Closer and a timeout called on Chicago Wind's side.
Eric Owens wants a timeout. Florida leads by 5 here in the Golden Game. Crocs looking to put the finishing touches on what would be a 14-7 win.
Yes, I'll go flat.
Yeah, I think keep it simple. Yeah.
One long and one flat I wanted, but I lost the timing.
It's good. It's good. You're okay. You're okay. Be confident.
It's very noticeable.
Provost still back at the bench, but Daniel Gorak really quick back to the table. Needs to keep riding that momentum. The Crocs ahead by 5.
Worth mentioning, Florida has never lost a Golden Game to Chicago. They are 3-0 in this department previously.
Loud cheers from the Chicago Wind bench from Emily Tan.
Daniel Gorak with 2 serves.
A big alley for her French teammate. And another one from Emily Tan.
Much deserved.
Provost wins the battle. He's taken 2 straight since the timeout.
Into the double digits.
And Provost looking sharp back from the table.
The
Chicago Winds pushing back. There's some pressure here now on Alexandru Kaku. He didn't have a particularly favorable showing against Mark Duran in their first rotation. If he can take all 4 here, it could have some pretty big implications in this Golden Game. One more and he'll tie the score up.
Big point for Mark Duran.
So quick on the serve receive and then slowed things right down on the next ball. You could see how shallow that bounce was.
Mark Duran like a raging bull running into the table at full speed and somehow surviving the point. Come on.
The Crocs crowd are well into this. Kaku all the way at the back barrier.
Kaku salvages the last point, earns the 2-2 split. Dan Liu, Ojo Onaapo up next.
Chicago Wind is certainly within striking distance, but Dan Liu needs to do his team some favors here. And he will. There's a big task on Dan Liu to alleviate some of the pressure that's going to come back onto Emily Tan in the next matchup with Michelle Litsky. If he can give the Chicago Wind a lead, that would certainly help. Takes the first 2.
We've heard all the different players in the league talk about the emotions of the Golden Game, and it stirs you up inside. It is a roller coaster to be a part of it. 15 all. Ojo gets the return error to prevent Chicago from surging in front, at least for the moment. These Crocs fans finally celebrate a win this weekend. Oh, what a return from Ojo. the backhand block winner.
The pressure spot here. She's been under pressure in a golden game before. Held a reasonably good position there in that rally. Litsky with the counter on the backhand. Gets the ball out wide. A little more frustration showing on the face of Emily Tan there now.
Emily needs to win one of these next 2 points, otherwise it's over.
Against the serve of Michelle Levinsky, it's going to be a tough ask.
Levinsky wins the golden point to close out his singles match after a rough start. And now he's won 6 of 7 points in the golden game against Emily Tan. Match point for the Crocs. And it's over. Michelle Levinsky able to get the job done in the golden game. And Florida finishes its weekend with a hometown win. We'll chat with the victorious Crocs after this.
where you can find the schedule and all the social media. We'll see you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and on the live streams on YouTube until we're back in Winter Haven, Florida. See you real soon, and drive safely.
The weekend here in Broward County comes to an end with a Florida victory as the Crocs take it 14-7 over the Chicago Wind. The victorious head coach Frank Arias gets to don the headset. Maybe it's not that you get to talk to us, but the fact that you win and then you get to talk to us, it always seems like you're in a good mood when we get to chat. Congratulations on this win. How good does it feel after all you've been through this weekend?
Thank you so much. It was kind of heartbreaking playing home and not being able to put a win, but finally we managed to do it, and we're very happy, especially for the support that we received from the fans and public. So very happy to have put this win together.
And there were some big shakeups in the Golden Game order. Compare your singles lineup to your Golden Game. How did you feel? Did you feel confident about the singles lineup order? What made you change things around in the Golden Game?
Well, actually, since we were leading, they had the disadvantage to send the first player. And since it was Provost, I decided that I'll rather play Gorak against him. And as the results against Mark were not on our favor, it was a good match. But anyways, I thought that probably it would be a good fit to change it.
All season long, the Crocs have been among the top 2 teams in the East, but for the first time this year, this weekend, it felt like Chicago and Princeton were coming for you. You had a 21-point lead for the final playoff spot coming into this weekend. It's now a 13-point lead, but it would be even less if not for that Golden Game victory. How has the shift in sense of urgency changed for you here in the second half of the season?
Well, the rest of the team, they're playing awesome. They seems like in second half of the season they've accomplished a little bit more, and they're playing a little bit better. And they're chasing us, and so we want to be aware of that, and we want to keep our lead. It's Final Four, so we need to be there.
Lastly, what can you say about Michel Levinsky? Clearly he was struggling, but he rallies back to get you a point. That point was the difference with you being ahead going into the Golden Game, and then he closes out the Golden Game for you with a flurry.
Absolutely. It was our special request. That's when I asked for the timeout, and as we need that point to be ahead so we can have a better chance to draw better on the Golden Game.
Well, you get to be at home again next month too, but home field advantage hasn't necessarily been a blessing for teams around the league so far. What do you think about the feeling of playing in Florida?
It was not. Well, the first time we played in Daytona, it was great.
Sure.
So, but this one is not. So I guess next time we'll come stronger and we'll fight every point. So let's see the results. Hopefully on our favor.
All right, Frank, good to see you as always. Congrats on getting the win. We'll see you in Winter Haven Super Bowl weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thanks, Frank Arias, the head coach of the Crocs. Their fans finally able to celebrate a little bit. Right now, the standings show Florida with 181 points. That's a good 42 behind Carolina, but 13 ahead of Princeton. Michel Levinsky's flipped the headset on. Michel, you don't need to be a table tennis expert to know that at times this weekend you were struggling on the table, and yet you finished the weekend feeling good. Can you take us through the roller coaster of emotions you've been through?
Well, I was hoping to play much better in singles. I was struggling yesterday, and actually I was struggling today also. Yesterday I was leading all the games against Kai Zhang, and I couldn't finish it. 2 games at Golden Point, 11-10. And then today also I think I had a 10-6 lead, and the third I finally woke up and started playing table tennis, serving well and receiving a little better. And yeah, 10-10 again, and my service, so I was obviously much more comfortable. But yeah, I was happy that in the Golden Game we were able to finish strong, and I took 7 points out of 8. Playing against a girl is never easy. They always want to smash the ball harder, completely different style. So yeah, I was really happy. I made most of the points.
And when we look at your game, particularly with Dan, sometimes it kind of seems like there are 2 separate Michels playing. There's the one that was there in the beginning, and then the one that comes out in the third game is totally different. What does it take for you, not necessarily just in those difficult situations, but what does it take for you to get the Michel that goes out there and plays with confidence to be the one that's on the table?
So we're actually quite familiar with each other. I mean, we've played before. And the first game I was just playing singles. So my mindset was like, okay, focus and try to win the game. I lost the game. I was not close. I made too many first errors. And the second game, I was trying to fight that first game. So again, I follow up with first errors. I lost the second, and then for the third, I focused. I said, okay, it's a team match. I need to get another point. Whether I lost or won the match, it doesn't matter. I need that extra point for the team.
Michelle, what's the feeling like when the crowd's going crazy, you just won the match and your team storms the court?
That's amazing. I mean, even when we won, during the match, when they're screaming, that's obviously a great feeling. You feel like you're back in Europe, in the best leagues in Europe, so that's amazing.
What's the best atmosphere you've ever been a part in your table tennis career?
Well, recently, definitely this one. But okay, if you play in China, World Championship in China, it's a little different.
Yeah, especially when you're winning a game against the best player in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, congrats on a strong close to the weekend, and have a good rest of the month.
Thank
we'll
you.
look forward to seeing you down the road, Michelle. Thank you for
guys.
your time.
Thanks.
So we're going to take one look at these standings and pay close attention to the singles column in the East Division. If it was just about singles wins, Florida would be a distant 4th place in the East, but it's their golden game success, not to mention Gorak and Ekholm dominating the doubles against Princeton and Chicago, that have them in position to be in position heading toward the spring season.
Yeah, I think there have definitely been some shifts in momentum. The question now for the Florida Crocs is whether they can maintain that reliability that they've had earlier in the season, particularly with the Golden Games. But the singles level of Chicago Wind has always been strong, I think, compared to the other parts of their matches. But also with the Princeton Revolution, I feel like those teams are raising the bar. The pressure is on the Crocs. Carolina is sitting pretty comfortable up there. So the second spot in the East is really going to be the focal point for the rest of the season.
If there's one takeaway from this weekend, as we look at the West standings too, it's that the teams in 3rd and 4th are far from being out of it. Because, look, Princeton was 21 points out of a playoff spot when they arrived. They're now just 13 points away. They've got 2 more regular season weekends left. That's 6 team matches. 126 points still up for grabs. And, yeah, Florida and Carolina are in playoff position now, but they know they are far from secure, at least Florida. Carolina's pretty secure as they dominate again. Matt Hetherington, fun being with you again. Look forward to seeing you next month right back here in Florida.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, Evan.
For Matt and our entire crew, Evan Lepler saying so long. Florida closes out the weekend with a Croc Chump.